coming to you live from my kitchen. I'm here to make a Wentworth related story time video. So this is going to be the story of the kick heard around the world. This is a fight story. There's going to be a spoiler if you haven't watched Wentworth season 9, then be warned. So in Wentworth season 9, episode 8, we already know what happens in the ending with Rita. The truth comes out about her being a police officer and the women jump her and beat the shit out of her. At the ending of it all, there's this kick that this bitch gives to Rita right in her face, and it sends Rita flipping onto her back, blood leaking from her mouth, and she's just splayed out, knocked out on the ground. So that kick reminded me of this story where there was a kick. Here is the story of the time where someone kicked me. Okay. So here we go. Let me take a sip of this coffee. A quick little bit of background story. So I don't know if you guys got to see my other story times about how I met my piece of shit ex-boyfriend and the baby mama drama that followed. If you don't remember, it's too late to watch the videos now because I either deleted them or put them to private because I decided I don't want to talk about these motherfuckers. Like, I don't want to tell the stories of all the beef because that shit is in the past and that's where I want to leave it. But I will share with you the fight stories. So it was summertime. It was June. I was 19 years old when this shit happened. And I'm 43 years old now. So this was a very long time ago. This was over 20 years ago. And so I was dating this piece of shit. My piece of shit ex-boyfriend came to my house and he tells me, oh, come, let's go walking around. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I don't want to. I had a weird feeling all day. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to go out. Anyway, so I didn't want to go out. I had a weird feeling and I'm like, nah, I want to stay home. And he's like, come on, just let's go. So I was in my house with this girl who was my friend. When my piece of shit ex-boyfriend came with one of his friends to come and pick me up so that we could go roam the streets. You know what I'm saying? And just do nothing but walk around and shit. It was a Puerto Rican Day parade, so there was people out and about celebrating and shit. He had bought a bottle of liquor and some other misunderstood materials, you know what I'm saying? And we were gonna go and just chill. So I told him I don't want to walk down Knickerbocker because I knew that if we went down Knickerbocker, there was a chance that we were gonna bump into his baby mama. And this bitch, every time she saw me, she wanted to fight. You know what I'm saying? So we were constantly arguing. And we had already fought once. When this fight happened, her and I had already fought one time, like physically fought once. So what happens? And the whole time I have like this nervous feeling in my stomach. That was my gut telling me, bitch, retreat. You know what I'm saying? Because you know not what lies ahead. And I didn't listen to my gut. I just kept on walking with him and the others down Knickerbocker Avenue, not knowing what was ahead of me. And so what happens? We're walking down Knickerbocker and oh my God, I see this little group, this little crowd of people, like a small crowd of people, maybe like, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 12 people. And it was a mix, girls and guys, all teenagers, you know what I'm saying? We were all teenagers. And I see her. So I see this bitch and I told my piece of shit ex-boyfriend, I said, there she goes. I fucking told you that we were going to end up bumping into this bitch. And there she goes right there. So we're walking towards her. So this is her talking her shit to whoever it is, the crowd that she's with. And then this is us, the 4 of us coming down the block. So we're coming down the block. She's talking shit. When we get about right here, she turns around and immediately starts talking shit to my piece of shit ex-boyfriend. Can't remember like word for word what was being said, but basically it was to the effect of, what the fuck are you doing with her? Weren't you with me last night? Because this is what she always said every time that we would see each other or start arguing. Well, he was with me last night, or he was with me yesterday, or whatever the fucking day or time. But she always claimed that he was with her. And I knew she was full of shit because you're telling me that you were with him at such and such time, but bitch, he was with me. So how the fuck is this possible? You know, I was so stupid back then. At the end of the day, half of the time she was lying, but the other half of the time she was telling the truth. And I just didn't believe her because she was always lying about something. I had caught her in so many lies that nothing she said was true to me, even though there was truth to a lot of the shit she was saying. So anyway, so she's talking shit to him there, and I'm just standing there because let me tell you something about myself. I don't like shows. I don't like crowds. I just don't like that shit. Especially if I'm gonna fight someone, I don't want there to be a crowd. Like, this is not the fucking MMA. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers didn't pay to see this. Why are we giving them a show? I would rather go somewhere where it's just us, and we could either A, discuss it, argue it out, or we could fight. You know what I'm saying? But it's just gonna be us. And I feel like when it's just a one-on-one thing with the two people, you see who's who a lot faster. You know what I'm saying? Because some people, like, I don't get my strength from the crowd. The less people, the better. There's this crowd here, and there's other people walking up and down because it is the night of the Puerto Rican Day Parade. You know what I'm saying? You got a bunch of crazy-ass Puerto Ricans out there. It's okay, I could say it. I'm one of the crazy-ass Puerto Ricans. It's fine. You know, so she's there. She's talking her shit, and the police show up because there's mad cops everywhere at this point because it's the Puerto Rican Day Parade, the night of the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Like, us Puerto Ricans, we can't just go out there and have a parade and have fun. We gotta fucking go out there, have a parade, and fight afterwards. You know what I'm saying? My mentality was, talk your shit. I'm so tired of arguing with you. Just don't put your fucking hands on me. That's it. So I had these rings, right? I had like these skull rings and a rhinoceros ring or horns in the middle, I think it was. And then my skull ring, it was like, remember Pinhead from that movie? Oh God, I can't remember. But it was, the skull had spikes all around the head area on the ring. So I had like one spike ring here, one spike ring here, and that was it. And as she's talking her shit, something inside of me said, take your rings off because y'all are gonna fight. And if you cut her, you're gonna get locked up. So I took off the rings and I put them inside my jean jacket pocket. That was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, was taking them rings off. Some people might differ. Some people might think you should have left those rings on. I'ma disagree. No, I should not have. So I took the rings off. I put them in my pocket. Seconds later, the cops show up. And now the cops are like, all right, ladies, go your separate ways. You know what I'm saying? And neither one of us moved the muscle. She's standing there staring at me. I'm standing there staring at her. We were not that far from each other. And we're just there. This is her. This is me. And we're just grilling each other. And I'm saying to myself, I ain't going nowhere. Because the second I turn around to walk away, this bitch is going to hit me from behind. And they're like, ladies, go your separate ways. We didn't move a muscle still. And next thing you know, she looks at me dead in the eyes and she goes, ooh, I hate you. She kicked me on my thigh. This thigh right here. She kicks me dead on my thigh, right? I looked down at my thigh because I couldn't believe what she had just did. What I remember happening next, like I remember going at her to grab her, but she did the same thing to me. Like we did the exact same thing to each other. I went to grab her and then I guess I was going to manhandle the bitch. I don't fucking know. And she did the same thing to me. She grabbed me by the collar of my jacket. This bitch grabbed me by the collar of my jacket and then did a whole 360 spin. So she spins me around. We fell. So I felt her falling. So she drops herself and then I go right along with her. So I fell on top of her. I fell right on my knees. Like when I fell, I hit the ground knees first. When I tell you that I had both kneecaps completely bruised for fucking a long time after that, it hurt. So I fell flat on my knees, dead on my knees, right on top of this bitch. So I fell onto my knees and I'm on her. Like I fell on her. So when I fell, this arm was like here. I'm on her, but I'm also on my arm. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this hand is the only hand that's free. I forgot to mention how when I fell on top of this bitch, she bit me right underneath one of my boobs. I can't remember which one it was. But this is the second time this fucking beast bit me because the first time we fought, she bit me as well. So when I fell on her, the first thing that I remember feeling was people on top of me. Remember I said she was there with a group of motherfuckers? So I feel like people are on top of me. I'm feeling myself be hit on my back, on my head, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting jumped. So in my mind, I'm like, oh wow, so this is what it's like to get jumped. You know what I'm saying? Because I had never been jumped before. And I was like, oh my God, these bitches are jumping me. And so I see, like I look at her head and she's like this, you know, like on the floor, on her side, and she's all covering, you know, her face and her head. So I tried to swing with this hand, like bloop, to get her right in the fucking face. And it was grabbed. And then I hear voices and I'm like, oh shit, this is the cops. You know what I'm saying? And I hear like the walkie-talkie things. And so now I realize the cops have jumped in. I don't feel like I'm getting jumped no more, but I can feel the police trying to rip me off of her. And they have one hand and they're telling me, stop moving and get up. And I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm struggling and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. Like, I'm not getting up. Y'all gonna have to drag me off of this bitch because I'm not voluntarily gonna get up. And so they're telling me, you know, get up. And I'm like, fuck yeah, fuck her. And in one moment, I look up like this because at this point, I'm looking down. She's right underneath me and I'm struggling and shit. I got the arm here. They're trying to grab me. So I'm here. The fight is happening. Like, her head is down here. I look up. And all I know is that when I look up, there's a boot over here, like in front of me. Like there's a boot coming at me, maximum velocity, and it bloop made contact. So I come like this, and the boot is like bloop, and I got kicked dead in my mouth with the front of a fucking boot that looked like a Timberland boot, a black one. Oh, I was fucking couldn't believe it. So I got bloop, my head goes back and I'm like, oh shit, that shit was powerful. I had been kicked in my mouth before, you know what I'm saying, when I was a little girl. But I don't have a memory of the force or the pain. So this time around, I'm like, oh wow. Within seconds, what happens? I taste blood in my mouth. So now I'm spitting at this bitch. I'm spitting my blood at her. The second that I tasted that blood in my mouth, I lost my shit. So I'm spitting at her. And I'm trying to get my hand off of these motherfuckers. I don't know. It was weird. It was just weird. I'm like, I couldn't hit her because they had my hand. All I could do was spit. But I was trying to like crush her with my thighs. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm on top of her. And I'm trying to squeeze her to death with my fucking mulos. And then it was like a fucking moment of clarity. I look at her and I see that she no longer, like she was moving her hands. So now her hands are just covering her face. All her alien ass head, her big ass fucking dome was exposed. And I was like, this is it. So in that moment, I look at her head and it was like a moment of clarity. I realized you have a free arm this whole time and it's here. And so I took my arm out and I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm punching the shit out of this bitch on her head, like the head that's exposed. I got 3 good, solid, hard hits in before the authorities in midair grabbed my arm. And now they got me. And they're like, yo, with both arms behind my back, they still couldn't get me off of this bitch. I wasn't trying to go nowhere. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I was scared, okay? I was scared that I was going to get kicked in my mouth again the second I got up. Like, she was on the floor, and she was taller than me. You know what I'm saying? She had some long-ass fucking legs. And so my fear was that when I get up, she's going to kick me on my way up. And I've already been kicked once. I'm a bloody mess. I want to get kicked again? No. So I'm not getting off of this bitch. And that's it. It took 3 officers to get me off of this bitch, okay? Technically, they didn't get me off of her. They got her out from under me. So they're like, get up. And I'm like, y'all can suck my dick. I'm not getting up. I just kept saying that. I'm not getting up. Fuck y'all. Fuck her. I'm not getting up. And I'm spitting because the blood is accumulating in my mouth. And so finally, I guess they realized this bitch ain't gonna get up. We're gonna have to slide this girl out from under her. So they took this bitch, okay, and they slid her out from under me. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is her. This is me. I'm not trying to get up. And so they dragged her out from under me. So when I moved, they got me. They picked me up quick. And then they slammed me on top of the hood of the car. And my chin, I'll never forget, hit the hood of the car. The second that happened, I spit. Mad blood now on the hood of the car. It looked like a fucking murder scene. And they're like, stop spitting. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Because I'm not swallowing my blood. You know what I'm saying? And so I just kept on spitting. As the blood was accumulating, I would spit it out and y'all could kiss my ass. And so what happens when they took me back off of the thing to put the handcuffs on me and put me in the car, my boob was out. My teta was out. Hi, just saying hi to the whole crowd because at this point there's a fucking crowd. Like both blocks are filled with people that have come to witness this fight. Okay, it was terrible. I'm screaming, yo, my fucking titties out, my teta's out. And I'm trying to like bend over and shit and they're thinking that I'm being like, you know, an asshole. And I'm like, yo, my fucking teta is out. Can you cover me? So a female officer came from out of nowhere. She was like a fucking angel, okay? She came out of nowhere. She put my boob into my shirt. My shirt was broken, so she ended up closing my jean jacket. Like she buttoned up the jean jacket so you couldn't, my boob wouldn't pop out again. And so now I'm sitting in the backseat of the fucking vehicle, the cop car, bleeding, pissed, and then they take me to the precinct. So they take me to the precinct. I'm walking out of the car to go to the precinct, and there is a crowd of people in front of this precinct. They were all there, you know, with other people that had been arrested that night, waiting to find out what was going to happen to them. Are they going to be released? Are they going to bookings? What's going on? So now I'm walking in, and I see someone I know. I saw my piece of shit ex-boyfriend's niece, and she's like, "Oh my God, Michelle, what happened?" And I was like, "Your fucking uncle is full of shit. That's what happened." And so I'm pissed off at him. And I didn't know that he was already there in the mix. So when I said that, he was like, "Why you mad at me for?" And I was like, "Because you're a lying piece of fucking shit. That's why you're always saying one thing and it's not. And now look at what happens." And so I'm there pissed off. I get into the precinct and I see her. She was already there. So she's there like in that little intake area where they're taking all your information, they're fingerprinting you and shit. Over here on this side, they had like, where it was like a big cell, where it was like a group holding cell, but all the guys that had been arrested that night were in there. So all the girls that had been arrested, they were putting them on the other side of the precinct, which was single cells. So you have individual cells for one person per cell. So they stuck her in there towards the back, right? And then when they were done with me, they put me in the same room towards the front. And I'm just there chilling. I'm pissed. Rings are still in my pocket. I never took them out. And I was like, thank God that I didn't have those rings on. Because if I had those rings on when I hit her those last 3 times, I would have stabbed her in her head. That's what would have happened. And then I would have stood in jail. So you see how sometimes you gotta, if your gut is telling you something, just listen to that bitch. And I'm glad that I did. So she starts talking shit while she's in this cell. That's why I fucked her up. That's why I kicked her in her mouth and busted her shit. She didn't kick me in my mouth. She was under me the entire time. One of your friends kicked me in my mouth, bitch. Which I came to find out later. So I fucking flipped out when I heard her talking this shit. And I'm banging on the cells, like the bars. And I'm like, you're a fucking bitch. You didn't fucking kick nobody, bitch. All you did was kick me once in my thigh. That's it. You didn't get not one hit in, bitch. I'm bleeding, yeah, but it's not because of you, bitch. And so I'm losing my mind. The officers were on the phone with my mom while I lost my mind. And they're like, shut the fuck up. You want to go to bookings? Do you want to go to bookings? Because I got your mother on the phone right here. She's hearing everything that you're saying. So I'm going to keep it real. I didn't care. I didn't care that my mom heard everything that I was saying. I was mad. What scared me was the threat that I could potentially go to central bookings. I was like, oh, hell no. Aquí me quedo callada. And I didn't say another word. They let her out first. So then they let me go, like maybe 20 minutes after they let her go. So when I left, my ex-boyfriend and his friend and my friend, they were outside waiting for me. And so I said, the first thing that I asked was, who jumped me? Who jumped me and who kicked me in my mouth? And they were like, nobody jumped you. No, none of her friends ever jumped in. That was the cops. And it was the cops. The cops jumped on you when y'all fell to try to break y'all up. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't get jumped. It was just the authorities, you know, being brutes. So he tells me the one that kicked you in your mouth is one of the twins. So there were a set of twins there. And one of these twins is the one that kicked me in my mouth. So then he's like, they're right there, look. And I'm like, what? So I look towards Burger King and I see them. And they're all there in a crowd, that same little crowd that they were, and they're standing there. And they're laughing. And so I'm like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? What y'all laughing at? And they end up running off, laughing. You know, like mischievous little brats and shit. So they run off in laughter, and I'm just like, you know, this fucking bitch, bro. And that was the end of the fight. That was it. That was the story. From there, I went home. From there, I went home, and I looked at myself, and I was like, wow. When I tell you, my lips, okay, this bitch caught a solid shot on my mouth. It wasn't just the top lip that was busted. It was also the bottom lip that was busted. But the wound was inside the lip, like inside. So from the outside, all you saw was 2 big ass bruised lips. You didn't see like the actual skin break. You know what I'm saying? From the front. So my lips were huge and they were black and blue. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. My kneecaps were completely fucking bruised. The next day when I woke up, my mouth was even more swollen. And so I decided to turn lemons into lemonade. I was like, let me put on some chapstick and then let me put on some lipstick and see what's going on here. Yo, when I tell you, never did my lips look better than they did busted with that lipstick on. They looked beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, look. I wish that I had taken more pictures back in those days because I don't have as many pictures from those times as I would like. But my lips were busted and swollen, and yo, when I tell you, when the swelling started going down, I was disappointed. I was like, damn it, I knew it couldn't last forever. So that was it. That was the story of the kick heard around the world. And the moral of this story is go with your gut. Go with your gut. If your gut tells you don't do it, don't fucking do it. Because your gut be knowing. I say this all the time. Your gut be knowing. All right, world. I hope that this story wasn't too violent for you. It wasn't that bad. That's it. If you like this video, like my shit, subscribe to my channel if that's what you'd like to do. And if you do subscribe, make sure that you turn on the notification bell so that you could be alerted when I post videos in the future. And that's it. That's it. Thanks for watching, world. Bye.